Firstly, thank you so much to the ARMA team for inviting and including the Ripcord folks, myself, and on this this webinar. I think especially in this sort of current climate, keeping the communication open is a great thing. For those who don't know me, Wasim Khan, I'm the Chief Digital Officer at Ripcord. My responsibilities are for all of our business development, our alliances and partnerships, responsibility for our digital transformation strategy, as well as our global marketing. So I'm going to spend the next 10 or 15 minutes talking about two key areas. The first one is going to be about what we're seeing around current market trends, obviously very topical with all the COVID and the Corona part and the impact that's having, and really looking at the sort of the specific impact that's having on digitization. And then the second part of this is going to be more around explaining what Ripcord's doing in this space and new ways that we're trying to bring real value to our client base and our prospects as well. So with that, let me just minimize some of this. So in terms of 2020, I think we'd all agree it's been surreal is one description here, but if we kind of look at what's happening in this marketplace specific to digitization, there's a number of different aspects that really are impacting us. If you look at the working from home, the remote working, one of the key implications of that is that business has to continue. So business continuity suddenly becomes way, way more important. The other thing that we're seeing is there's a real need around, what is it that's actual priority versus, what is more of a nice to have. And what we're seeing there is that that's being very specific to actual processes, but also impacts investments as well. And then if you kind of look at it more from the next level of, how do I actually do work when I'm remote, then the accessibility of documents suddenly becomes a key hot topic. So again, impacting a lot of industries. And then it's not just about accessing that information, it's how productive you can be at accessing that information. Can I access the right level of information? And what we're also seeing is that there's a growth around digital substitutes or digital alternatives that work hand in hand with the overall paper to digitization kind of way of doing things. So that's from a kind of a macro setting. I think the key takeaway for us really is that if you look at this, it's really about, when we speak to our prospects and our customers and our partners, what we're seeing here is that there's a real need to prioritize in terms of where the effort and focus is. You can't do too many things. There's only so much investment and the economy is obviously taking a hit. So prioritization and focus are really some of the key takeaways that we're seeing. And then if we look at this more from a challenges that need to be addressed from a digital transformation perspective, then there's a number of things that really do come to the fore. Aspects around, how do I improve the customer experience? How do I reduce processing times? How do I better leverage investment in current or new software around automation? How can I get quicker decision making? Make sure that all of this is done in a way that from an audit perspective, from a compliance perspective, that we're adhering to the rules and the norms. So it's really a case of getting tangible value from a lot of these business processes, making the most of the investments that are there. But that value also doesn't just look at costs. I think there's an efficiency talk track here as well as more of an improvement talk track. So how do we really get these business processes working in a way that really accelerates growth or efficiencies for our customers and our prospects? Which hopefully, again, I've only got 10 minutes or so, but from a trends perspective, kind of frames where sort of Ripcord's coming from this. And then if I step back and try to explain what Ripcord is, for those who don't know Ripcord, we're a relatively new player to this scene. We were founded in 2015. Our headquarters is in Hewlett, California. And our mantra has been around digitizing everything. And it's quite outlandish the way we say that, but our view is that we're really focused on new technology, new software to really help drive that. So that's the way we back that up. The way we position ourselves is we're a robotic digitization company, but we provide an integrated SaaS offering. And for us, integration is really in two parts. There's an integration component that's around the hardware and the robotics. And I'm going to talk about that and show something around that as well. But we also have our own software. So it's not just a case of digitizing content and information, but it's then also having our own content services platform. Our platform's called Canopy, that really then smartly manages that data and that information. And we then embed additional tools around AI or machine learning on top of that to better enable business processes. So for us, it's really a case of an integrated approach delivers the greatest value. The best way of describing this is often show a video at the same time. They always say, be careful of showing videos on webinars, but I'm going to try it anyway. So bear with me. Hope you can all listen and hear this. It's a minute or so. Hopefully it will get the message around our integrated value proposition. So I'm going to start playing it now.
The next generation of digital transformation. Data is power, but not locked away in yesterday's formats. Ripcord's automated systems capture high-resolution scans and securely store documents, reclaiming the valuable data they contain. Your digital scans are organized to mirror the original documents precisely and uploaded to Canopy, Ripcord's cloud content services platform, so you always know where to find your data. Online, text recognized, classified, entities extracted. Artificial intelligence drives our advanced search engine. Our analytical tools automatically read and visualize your data, enabling a deeper understanding of your business, your customers, and your opportunities. And third-party API access makes Ripcord's many services available to any workflow. Pull the Ripcord and capture your data, because data is power.
So hopefully that came across in terms of our integrated value proposition, and it really is a focus on more a seamless approach between the hardware and the software aspects, and also delivering something that's faster and more efficient. If we then kind of go into our value proposition, it really comes down to sort of three key areas for us. There's the smart robotics aspect, there's a smart content management aspect, but there's also this business process enablement aspect as well. And we see all three of these sort of working hand in hand. If I look at the first one in terms of the value and the tools that we have here, then it really starts around information being ingested, but also the assembly of that information. So Ripcord has invested a lot in sensor technology, understanding the assembly of documents. So looking at things from a digitization perspective around a tree and branch structure. So if we're digitizing legal content, there may be folders, subfolders, even post-it notes. How do we better understand that taxonomy? How do we also understand and create a digital twin of that information as well as ingested? And in terms of our robotics, we're using computer vision guided robots, mechanical arms, so that you don't need humans to remove staples and paper clips and those sort of things. At the same time, the quality of our imaging resolution goes up to 1000 DPI. So what we're really trying to do in that first circle around robotic digitization is really do things in a very, very different manner to what other folks do in this space. So our view is there's a new way of doing things, which is the things that I've just talked about. And there's an older way of doing things, which is more labor, manual intensive, a lot more error prone. And the advantages that really provides Ripcord and our customers is there's a greater speed, a greater accuracy, and clarity and quality around the information that we digitize. If we then move on to the second part around our smart content services platform, then again, it's stated there, but our focus really is on understanding data and more around how do we get structured metadata from the content that we digitize. And here the view is it isn't sufficient for us just to tag some information. How do we better analyze that data that we're digitizing? And then if I look at this second part around our content services platform, there are really two sort of aspects of this. There's the intelligent capture component, and then there's the content services platform itself. In terms of the intelligent capture component, we use different sets of tools, best of breed tools, our own tools around how we classify information, how we cluster information, how we automatically recognize and extract that information from field at entity level. And then the other approach here is we understand the content services space is very crowded. I used to lead the Xerox DocuShare business, so that's kind of my background, but we know there's a lot of different content services players. So our view here really is, how do we better interact with data? So how do we make that customer and user experience really meaningful? So we've invested a lot around the data accessibility, the data presentment, different ways that we're doing things is things like data advanced search and different taxonomy views that allow you to look, interrogate data in a different way, more like a pivot table around understanding content rather than just being sort of restricted to a folder structure. And then how you interact with data also from a visual perspective. How do we embed technology around mapping tools so you can drill down your data visually from maps and by the location and different coordinates. And what we're finding is that actually creates a lot of value in places like HR records departments, legal departments who want to understand where information is situated, and also a lot of our oil and gas customers as well. So for that second part, really, as I mentioned, is around one, intelligently capturing data and different types of data. So it isn't just structured data, it's semi-structured data, it's free form data, unstructured data, handwritten data, getting a real understanding of that, applying our machine learning models. And then the second part is, how do I interact with that data? So our view is if we do the first two things in the right way, so we've digitized in a smart way, we're better understanding your data, then that really powers that third circle around business process enablement. And often the success of business processes is going to be predicated on the quality of the data, the understanding of data. So our view is if we do the first two things right, then we're really going to power those different business processes. And often that's integration to other third-party systems, some level of approval workflow embedded in our own systems, et cetera, as well. But just making the whole end outcome from a business process a lot more seamless. We've got different deep dives in all of these, but given the fact there's about 10 or 15 minutes, hopefully this gives you a good overview in terms of the three key areas that Ripcord plays in. So then if I move on, often the best way of bringing this sort of stuff to life is to show real examples, real use cases, and I'll definitely come on to that. But before I do that, I wanted to sort of make sure that we're topical in terms of what's currently happening to our business. And what we're seeing is there are certain areas of our business that are seeing a lot more demand. There's obviously some areas such as oil and gas that the demand's kind of gone down or stabilized. But where we're seeing a higher demand for our services and a need for our offerings is in those three key areas on the left. So loan origination, we're finding there's a lot more information, documentation that needs to be processed, whether it's the deal jackets, deal packets, understanding, categorizing that, doing that efficiently and better in terms of accuracy perspective. From a correspondence management, we're seeing a higher uptick, whether it's claim forms, enrollment forms, again, better accuracy, feeding that information accurately into the different third-party systems or different export formats. We're seeing a rise in that. And then aspects such as HR records management, and that really isn't just records management. We're seeing a demand for sort of HR records solutions because there's a lot more around policy management, compliance, forms that are going out to folks, not just digital formats, but also paper formats. How do we aggregate that? How do we make the access to that information readily available? So we as a business have seen real growth in these three areas. And if you go to our website, you will actually see there's a lot more information about these three areas as well. But if I then sort of change tack and look at the value that Ripcord brings, hopefully you understood the three components of our value proposition around the smart digitization, the smart content services, and the business process enablement. The three examples we're showing there, if I quickly look at each one of those, Coca-Cola is a great customer for us in terms of their bottler network. What Ripcord brought to the table there was consolidation of a number of different suppliers within their life cycle around managing reconciliation of delivery notes and invoices and getting revenue recognition improvements from a financial metrics perspective. So again, having an integrated approach to this provided a lot more around consolidation benefits and efficiencies around there. Waste Connections, large waste management company. From an HR perspective, a lot of different data accumulated via acquisitions. How do we use Ripcord's different technology around better understanding data via clustering tools, via just recognition tools? How do we template that? So from a machine learning perspective, we can process this data and the different data types a lot quicker. So a lot of good things happening there. And then from a value and around decision-making process, how can I better understand the content I'm digitizing to make more effective decisions around building management? And that was the example that we had with UCLA. Again, we've got a few other examples, but in the interest of time, I thought these were the best ones. So moving on more of a recap. Hopefully these images are quite legible, but this is just reaffirming, without actually coming to our Ripcord site. We do have some videos around this, but looking at the way we do things, we have invested a lot in our own technology around this space. So the images that you see on the top left are our own investments in our robotics. And again, what I mentioned is we have a seamless process. So our robotics and our software works hand in hand. We're also embedding a lot more around new technologies, whether it's AI or machine learning to better understand content types. We're also augmenting that with computer vision technology so we can understand more around unstructured data as well. So we're really trying to get a real focus on better understanding data. And then, as I mentioned, as you manage that data, as you interact with that data, having our own content services platform canopy really allows us to then build on top of that. So if it's just a case of different integration with third parties or better embedded workflow, we're really trying to make this more of a content services platform that we can then add different layers on top of. So again, you're probably getting sick and tired of me saying the integrated approach works, but for us, it really does bring significant value. So hopefully that's coming through. And then just sort of summarizing where we are, the sort of the values and the benefits that Ripcord's bringing specifically in this current day and age. Again, I'm not going to harp on about integrated approach, but it really is around, how do we get better access to data? How do we, interact with simpler file structures in a way that, really benefits from the user's experience? As I mentioned, how do I then understand the context of this data, whether it's understanding what I do with this data or more around the background of this data? And then our approach really is, as I mentioned, an integrated SaaS approach, cloud first, and our software really, our development roadmap is all around, how we look at customers interacting with their business processes. How do we look at the journey map? How do we make this simpler? At the same time, how do we make sure that from a compliance and audit perspective, that we're making sure that, we're checking those boxes as well. So hopefully that gave you a good sense of what Ripcord's doing, what our focus areas are, the value that we're bringing to certain use cases. As I mentioned on our website, you can learn more. We've got specific use case examples. We've got customer examples there as well. There's more that you'd want to know about some of the things I've talked about. By all means, reach out to me as well. So hopefully I was within my time limit. I didn't go over too much.
I think you did pretty good. Yeah, pretty close anyway.
Okay.
I think we'll hold questions, if it's okay with everyone, until the end because of the tight time constraint. But I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to seeing that robot pull staples.
Oh yeah, we have actually. I think we have some videos, but they're a bit long. But by all means, I can send some links out to folks if they're interested in seeing that. Yeah,
that'd be good. We could post that on the ARMA SAC website, showing how they get those staples out.